Hey guys, I'm Fancy.
And I'm Colleen.
And this is Murder by Design.
So, welcome to our Friday Night Gone Cold series. In these episodes, we will be discussing many of the missing persons cases and unsolved murder cases that our viewers and fans have asked us to bring awareness to.
Some of these cases will be well-known, high-profile cases, but some of them are cases that may not have gotten as much media attention, and the family and friends feel they have been forgotten. This week, we're definitely talking about cases that we feel don't get nearly enough media attention. This case was one that a viewer asked us to cover, so we want to say thank you. But unfortunately, we can't seem to find the comment that was made to bring us to this case. But today, we're covering the case of Kirsten Hatfield. So if whoever suggested that, thank you so very much. It's a great case. Thank you. Thank you.
Kirsten Hatfield was an 8-year-old girl who disappeared from her Midwest City, Oklahoma home on the 1100 block of Jet Drive on May 14th, 1997. So really, really close to right now. And she was never found, and the case went cold.
What do you mean really close to right now? 1997?
The date! It's almost May 14th.
Oh!
The anniversary!
I was like, Colleen, 1987 is nowhere near close to now. But you're right, May 14th. Yes.
So it's going to be up on an anniversary.
It'll be up on an anniversary, so yeah. And she was never found, and the case went cold. Kristen's mother, Shannon Hazen, was involved with drugs at the time of Kristen's disappearance and said she believes someone she knows, possibly someone connected to the drug culture, abducted her daughter.
You know, these cases are always so sad because typically it is, you know, oh, well, we have your daughter, you need to pay us, or they are interested in making more money from selling that child, either in their possession for routine, like having people come in and sexually assault, or just straight up selling them.
Right.
And it's the fact that she knows is weird.
But there is a suspect that they do arrest eventually, yeah?
Yes, but they still never found her. So I always take those to...
Well, they arrested and convicted him. So, I mean, I don't know. This is a weird case. Like,
it's a weird case, and it's a case that I don't feel like gets enough attention.
No. So, I mean, basically her mom checks on her sometime between the hours of 6 and 6:30 a.m. on May 14th, and she discovers that Kirsten is missing. This is super strange. Like, there's small amounts of blood discovered on the room's windowsill and on the backyard 6-foot cyclone fence. The bedroom window was cracked open, and Kristen's ripped, blood-stained underpants are located in the backyard. But there's no sign of her, and she's not been seen again.
That's messed up. How do you not hear if there's blood?
If she's drugged out, like.
I mean, I guess, but that's a lot.
This reminds me of so much of the Haley Cummings. Is it Cummings? Yeah. Haley Cummings case down in Florida, where the little girl disappears and the babysitter / stepmom, like, you know, is like, I don't know where she went. And they were involved in drugs. And in fact, are all in prison for drugs, but nobody has ever found Haley or determined what happened to her that night. You know,
yes.
Reminds me of that. So the blood, though, doesn't match Kristen, and it's actually from the person who was ruled out as a suspect in Kristen's case and thought to have been in the room before Kristen disappeared. Now, this is where, like, I think what Kevin Sullivan does, you know, where he talks about the whole familia DNA, would have been something that would have been very helpful with this, because it could have tracked down people differently than just using the straight DNA. You know what I mean?
Right, because if it could, you know, a nephew, a uncle, cousin, you know, and it's you know close related, then you know.
Right.
The fact that it, you know, was ruled out as a suspect. But why is that person's blood on her underwear?
Why is it on the windowsill?
Well, right. Why is that blood on the windowsill? Why are the blood-stained Kristen's underwear in the backyard? Why? Like, to me, that's like a little bit of like of a trail of evidence, like purposeful.
Right. Sure,
Like,
sure, sure. Right.
ooh, well, he cut himself and there's a little bit of blood here. Let me, you know,
I don't know. This
I
is
don't
such
know. That's weird. It's
it's a very
weird.
strange case. And I truly believe it's like the thing was whole completely botched, you know. It's never really looked into. Again, it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, it's a drug family. Sorry.
Yes, like your friend's mom out in California.
Yeah, Shannon. Yeah, whose mom. Yeah, exactly. And we see too many of these cases where that's what happens. Oh wow, it
Yeah.
was a drug case. Oh well, she was a prostitute. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Hey,
oh,
dude,
hitchhiker.
this is a little girl. Like
But
I
she's
don't give a shit what her I don't give a shit what her parents are freaking doing or not doing. She's gone. Where the hell is she? Go look for her.
Casey Anthony and
Yes.
Kaylee Anthony. Like Casey, a fucking crazy girl, lies constantly. You know,
Right.
continuous lies. Then there are photo evidence that she's out partying, drinking while
Mhm.
Kaylee is missing.
Right.
And
Same thing with Evelyn Boswell, like her mom,
yes,
Maggie, like, you know, just laughing and saying weird shit and oh well no, and then she's found on their property. But, you know, the family got a lot of criticism and judgment, and when they're suspected, I'm going to say suspected because I do not completely believe that they had nothing to do with her disappearance. After everything I've read, there's not enough evidence to say that they did or didn't. I'm
yeah.
not saying they did. I'm just saying from what I'm reading about this and learning about this without, and I don't have the case files on this one because we can't request case files for anything right now. We're still waiting on Lacey Spears' case files, which we paid for and can't get because of this whole mess, you know. But I just don't think that they can be ruled out. Like, I don't think that they can be completely 100% said, no, they didn't do anything in this case. I just don't. So.
No, I mean the girl's still missing. Like
Right.
it's
And the family moves away just a few years after the kidnapping, which I can understand. I get that. Okay, I get it. Bad memories, whatever. But then again, it could also be we want to distance ourselves from this area because we did something, you know? I mean,
well, I can never remember the name of the show, but it's, I believe, an investigation discovery show where there was a mom and her new husband, and then the old grandpa went out into the desert with their kid and were camping, and then the kid goes missing.
I just watched it last night. They were all camping and they like the boyfriend, the husband and it was the dad and the mom and then like the grandfather and the grandfather's like friend.
Yes,
Is that what you're
yes.
talking? Okay, and the friend is like 20 something, so I don't know why he's friends with grandpa, but whatever. There was something weird going on there. And they went walking down to the creek, fishing, whatever, and they let the 2-year-old or 3-year-old, wherever he was, walk back to the grandpa, and then like he was playing, and then the grandpa. Yeah, I just watched that last night before. I don't know. My days run together right now.
Right.
But yeah, I know I just watched that one. I found that one extremely strange, and I don't know the parents had anything to do with it, but the grandpa and his friends seem extremely suspect. I don't know.
Well,
the whole thing in that one is suspect.
Well, then the other case that it was a dad who worked like overnight, and then the mom, and then like their infant daughter was sleeping in the room, but then the mom was outside drinking with her friend wine all night long, and then she goes to bed, and then the dad comes home, wants to goes to the bedroom to check on his daughter, and she's gone. And then it's like there are things that are weird in that case. I don't really think that the parents had really too much to do in it. I think that, again, it was another one of those botched weird things. There were sightings of a person walking down the street holding a baby in the middle of the night. That was not for winter. But it's just those weird cases of a child abduction that inside a home.
There's another one where the baby was like 5 months old. She was in her crib and she's stolen in the middle of the night. And the parents have been accused several times, but never anything has happened. The mom and dad have been on all kinds of shows.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a strange one too. And now there's like people coming forward saying that they think that they're the baby. So like that is weird. And then there's that one where the guy killed, he's a serial killer. He put like all these women in these barrels on his property, and he killed the mom, but the little
Yes.
girl Tiffany was taken with him, and he gave them to a family member, and they adopted her. Like, oh, so strange. These cases are so weird. Those cases like that,
Well, did you see the show? It was a couple episodes long. I want more. It was about a doctor who was like delivering babies and was just adopting them out.
Yes.
Because what he said, they were thinking of an abortion or adoption thing, but it was really the doctor.
Right.
That messed up. There's some weird cases out there that need more
Right.
attention.
And then there's the one where the doctor was like impregnating women, and
yes.
Oh my God, all these weird cases like that. You're right. Oh my goodness, my nose itches. Hold on. All these weird cases like this.
Weird. Because we have been interviewing a lot of really awesome people, and the typical cases that people like expect that are big cases are, serial killers, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, the big names. But there's just so many weird cases that just deserve way more attention.
Yeah.
Because potentially it could help solve these cases.
Oh, absolutely. We're getting a lot of those. One of those, it's been a huge Netflix thing with the Don Lewis thing, but they didn't focus on Don Lewis at all. Like, oh, there's a murder for hire. Oh, there's a crazy guy with cats. Oh, there's a crazy girl with cats. They have a feud. Oh, don't talk about the fact that there was a husband in there that's missing. Hey, no, nobody cares about that. Right. That just blew my mind.
The music video, here, kitty, kitty. Magic.
And we just interviewed, the case of Don Lewis has been reopened, and we just interviewed two of the cold case investigators, Cheryl McCollum from the Cold Case Research Institute. She's the founder and head of that research group. And then Stephen David Lampley, who originally was brought on as one of the main people in the investigation. He's a former SVU detective and homicide detective, but he stepped back and has to take like an advisory position because of some of the really cool things that he has going on in his own career. So super, super interesting. But we just did those. Those are over on our Good Wives Guide to True Crime podcast, which you can find on any of the platforms that you can listen to podcasts on. And that one's a really good one. There's 3 episodes. We did the episode about the Tiger King itself and talking about the case, and Don and Carol and all of them. And then we did 2 interviews. So you guys should really check those out. But yeah, there's a lot of these cases, even in that case, like that's a big, huge publicized case. And yet they didn't even talk about the disappearance. It was a snap. Like, oh yeah, there's a disappearance. There's a husband. We don't know where he is. And she might've fed him the tigers. Oh, okay, great. We're done. Like, wow.
Right. Joe's running for president. That was next.
That was right. Great. Joe's running for president. Who cares about the dead husband? Nobody cares. Or missing.
Murder for hire hole is like the backs. Like it was a setup, but that did not deserve 2 full episodes. Don Lewis, where is he?
Where is Don Lewis? Hey, I have cool cats and kittens. Where the hell is my husband? Like, if you've been listening to our podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime, then you might have noticed some changes. And that's because we recently switched our hosting platform over to Buzzsprout.
And we love it. We couldn't have had a smoother transition. And Buzzsprout made it super simple to give us amazing features that we weren't getting before. If you've been thinking about hosting a podcast or you are looking for a new host, then we recommend giving Buzzsprout a try. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. minutes of finishing your recording. And I really like getting the emails, it's like every day and every week, of how many listens and downloads we've gotten.
Right.
And then every month it says how many people have listened, which is awesome.
Yeah, we really like that. I really love all the different things that they features that they give us that we weren't getting elsewhere. They also, like, you can make your own sound clips right there instead of like from like little minute like pieces that you can use for promos that we weren't getting. We could do that, but it was harder. We had to use an outside source. Now we don't have to do that. They transcribe right there for you. I mean, it's amazing. So join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And if you follow the link in the show notes, that lets Buzzsprout know we sent you, and it gives you a $20 Amazon gift card when you sign up for a paid plan and help support our show. So there were thousands of tips over the years, but nothing ever panned out. This investigation, it does bother me, like, because it's not an extensive investigation, even like that of like Madeleine McCann, who we still don't know where that poor little girl is. But there's like nothing. Like, they did nothing.
There is nothing. Right. We have talked about many, many missing children on our podcast, on our YouTube. And even if we don't directly do an episode about it, we usually try to share cases on our Facebook at the Good Wives Guide to True Crime and Murder by Design. And even on our by proxy page, just to, get some cases, especially the smaller cases, some attention. Because you never know if it's in your area, if you could be of help to law enforcement.
Right. Like, we started off with the Gannon Stout case when it first came out, before it became a big case. We started off with that, and, that case blew up, obviously, because of the circumstances. But who knew if it was going to or not? We started off with Lori Vallow. We've been following that with Evelyn Boswell. And those all became, bigger cases. Although I think Evelyn Boswell is they've been kind of tight on what's going on with that, which is interesting to me. But yeah, we've been trying to share a lot of those cases.
Yeah. And so, there's nothing like Madeleine McCann, like, that girl is named, though the parents and their friends know everything. But like, there have been several series about her, about on different platforms, different episodes of shows about it.
Well, look how many shows there are for JonBenet Ramsey. Like,
that case is always
that case
it's a botched case.
So bad. I don't think it'll ever be solved.
No.
Not unless somebody comes forward. I think it's too messed up. So, but like, this little girl's body was never found. But in 2015, authorities learned some of the evidence in the case had never been tested by the Federal Bureau of Investigation or the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, which maybe, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe it wasn't tested because back in 1997 there wasn't the testing that we have now, so maybe that's why. So
possibly testing databases.
Like, possibly that's what's going on here. And they found it and was like, hey, this has never been tasted, never been tested, so let's get it tested. And so according to Chief Brandon Klebs with the Midwest City Police Department, the evidence had not been tested, including cigarette butts, a beer bottle, and a bucket. What is up with these beer bottles that are not tested in these cases? Like,
right, like the DNA, fingerprints not great. We've talked about that with the people we've interviewed, but saliva, backwash. Most people backwash,
right?
And cigarette butts, DNA. Like, you need a lot of DNA in that cigarette butt, but it's still something, especially when you have nothing. And again, I'll give it to them. 1997 was not a database of all the criminals in the country,
right?
That there is now. You get, booked, your DNA is taken.
Well, and I think that's something like Todd Matthews from NAMIS, like, I think the work that they're doing is so important of cataloging all the missing people and unsolved cases, because I think that if it goes missing or unsolved and it doesn't go into like a database, then how will we know if something else matches it, you know? So I think that's so important too, like putting them in a database of just the missing and unsolved, not even, you know, necessarily just DNA, but that needs to be happening too, you know, and they've been
Well,
doing
right.
great work and improvement on that. So
Right, because when, you know, the stars align, when the DNA can match, and
mhm,
then you can help families get some closure.
right,
Um, and so they also realized that the blood on the windowsill and the blood that was found on Kristen's panties, which were found in the family's backyard, had been tested, but technology at the time limited their findings,
right,
which again, give it to 1997.
right.
But the Claves said that the investigators determined that specific genetic profiles were similar in nature, were found on both pieces of evidence. So,
So that's where your familial DNA would come in,
yep. So the
you
DNA
know,
on the windowsill and the panties match.
somewhat. At least they're similar.
Yeah. Yeah,
These
similar
are
genetic
similar.
profile.
Yes, similar genetic profile. And so at the time of Kristen's disappearance, they couldn't determine though if they were the same person. Which,
Mhm.
yeah, you know, I mean, so that again, it could have been more than one person. It could have done, you know, whatever. So, I mean, these just remind me so much. I've just been reading on my, or listening on my Audible to John Douglas. You know, I'm a big fan of John Douglas. His newest book is called The Killer Across the Table, and he profiles a lot of different serial killers and people in this book, but he focuses on four main cases and then like brings in how they're similar or dissimilar to other serial killers. And two of the cases involve something very similar to this. One is a neighbor who is Joseph McGowan, and he killed a little girl named Joan who was just coming to his door, his mother's house, to deliver the Girl Scout cookies that she had, you know, given. And so this is when they determined to stop like letting the Girl Scouts sell door to door. That's why they're all in,
Yeah.
you know, the grocery stores and stuff, because of these type of murders. And he just made the decision in that second. Like, she rang the doorbell. He decided to kill whoever was at the door. Like, just weird. And then the other one is Joseph Condro, and he actually kidnapped two different cases where he kidnapped and murdered, kidnapped, raped, and murdered his friends' children. Like, these girls, these were young girls. It's just crazy. Like,
Well, and he was super involved
oh
in
yeah,
finding, like, looking for their
yes,
bodies
comforting the
and
moms.
volunteering, like,
Ah,
very, very involved. Typically, killers return to the scene of the crime, and this is even more disgusting since he's friends with the parents.
yeah,
And just to be so involved when you know exactly what's happened, you're trying to comfort parents,
mm-hmm.
knowing that you're the one who violated their children and killed them.
I highly
Disgusting.
I highly recommend the book if you're into all that. Like, if you like the profiling and listening to what causes people to do things and the thought process, because that's one of the things I really like about John is that he sits and he asks them the questions of like, what were you feeling? What were you thinking at this moment? You know, and he even, like, I guess they didn't pick up the one series that he was doing. Now, Mindhunter's out there, but they didn't pick up this one series because the network wanted him to be more like up in their face and asking these hard questions and like really getting angry with them and showing like disdain for their you know, crimes and things. And he was like, no, that doesn't work. Like, that's not how you get answers from these people. Like,
No,
that's not it. Like, you've got to
just
stroke their egos, and you have to
mhm.
like seem sympathetic to their because like they try to blame like everybody but themselves in a lot of ways. And Bundy did that. You know, he was like, oh well, that girl shouldn't have done this. Well, da, 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 da. You know, a lot of them are like that. But it reminds me of that in this way so much, you know, this case of like this neighbor doing this. But I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it.
I feel like he may know the mom a little
Yeah.
bit more than,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I really like what you just said about, you know, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Yes.
And so besides true crime and Food Network, I
Mm-hmm.
watch a lot of historical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the Nazis the people who in the U.S. Army who interrogated the Nazis said that how we got them to give up where Hitler was, how we got them to give up information was cook them a steak dinner and play cards with them. They sung like canaries because they don't feel intimidated and they, they'll talk. And then so I won't get too political, but when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2002 and 3 and 4 and continuing there, that Abu Ghraib, everybody in the world knows that was a bad idea. And the, waterboarding torture of these people.
Oh, that was awful.
And so, but then people who interrogated the Nazis were like, you can't do that.
I just watched a whole thing about that, like a movie about that, and the situation and how it was, the worst thing that we'd ever done, and it
created ISIS.
And it absolutely resulted in no information being given.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
And it was a bad idea. But so that same thing applies to killers because, but especially now in the legal system, you can't go punching the criminals in the interrogation room. You have to get them to give up the information, and they're not going to tell you things. With the violence.
Well, everybody knows like good cop, bad cop, but that the good cop is the one that gets the information. Like the bad cop, I understand the concept, like, okay, go in, scare them a little, and the good cop comes in and he gets the information, right? That's we all know this. This is a classic tactic, right? Like, but I think in this case, he was arrested. He said detectives believe Palma targeted Kirsten for sexual assault, and they reportedly arrested him on October 12, 2015 at his home, and his house was only 2 houses down from the Hatfields' home, and he was arrested on suspicion of killing the 8-year-old girl. He was arrested after the DNA evidence from the panties and some blood found in the family backyard was matched to Palma, who lived there. But after nearly a week of hearing testimony and a little more than an hour of deliberation, a jury found him guilty in the killing of Kirsten Hatfield, even though her body was never found.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's okay. So I'm usually a nobody, no crime person that goes, well, that doesn't make any sense because you can prove that there was a murder many different ways. But in this case, I am not quite sure that applies. If there's no body and there's no evidence of an actual like murder, there's definitely an evidence of her being taken, but they don't have evidence of a murder. So I'm really
just a couple drops of blood of his, not hers. It's his blood.
It's his blood.
And so, like, maybe he was scratched from the windowsill, since the windowsill was cracked and there was blood there, and then there's some blood out in the backyard. Like, but that again, that means it's his blood, not hers. But note, he was sent to prison in 1985 for more than a year for a sexual assault in 1982. But to me, that's not enough information for murder. Like, I need more than just his blood on a windowsill. I need
and here's my thing, like oh, well, why does it take so long? If we've got this evidence and there's evidence that there's blood from him on her windowsill, there's blood from him on her panties, why would it take so long to arrest him? Like, that doesn't make any sense, And they don't test the evidence when they collect it. Like, something in this case just doesn't seem right. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's definitely, a jurisdiction kind of thing. Like, in the Gannon Stout case, we were hearing, and we still hear a lot more details about the case than we do about Evelyn Boswell. And I think, the detectives and investigators in, each city have a little bit more information they're willing to share than other cases in other states. But like this, it's an older case. Like, there's
I don't know. And now we'll never
Mhm.
know because in 2019, the Oklahoma Department of Corrections informed the public that Palma was killed in the state penitentiary. So the investigators said during a unit check on Friday night, they discovered that Palma was covered in a blanket and was lying face down on the floor. So the incident report goes on to state that guards made Palma's cellmate pull the blanket off him, and that's when they noticed blood all over the floor and that Palma wasn't breathing. And basically, authorities say that his cellmate, Raymond Pilato, is the one responsible for his death. We know how child molesters and murderers do in prison. Not well. So, you know,
And potentially maybe he was talking to the cellmate. Maybe he gave some details that he wasn't going to give the police, and the cellmate was like, I don't do that, dude.
yeah, I don't
And
know.
I don't know. But
I don't know.
we're not going to know.
Yeah, we're never going to know now. And I think unless the parents come forward and say something, I don't. I think they know more than they're saying. Obviously, like you said, how does that happen? Where she is, taken in the middle of the night, and in a way like this, like it's not like I don't know. John Bonet was quiet, right? There wasn't any big things. There wasn't blood everywhere. There wasn't panties around. I mean, I don't know. This is how does your child go missing in the middle of the night with windowsill blood and panties in your backyard, and you don't know? Like why was
Right,
she up
like
at 6:30 in the morning checking on her? Like, is that when she gets up to go to school? I don't know. This is just odd.
I don't know.
A very odd case. And they've determined that she's dead, but they still are looking for a body. And we really do hope that they do find her. But I mean, I don't
I
know.
just
This seems
am wondering if the case has been declared a cold case or just kind of
it's solved in their mind.
right. So they're not. To me, that means they're not looking.
Right. Right.
Like put it
Yeah.
in, it's so, but put it in the cold case as a missing person. Have whoever is
Right.
in your department doing cold cases look at it.
Well, and we said earlier, this reminds us of Madeline McCann, in the same sense that, I think those parents know things that they don't tell. I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that I believe the parents did something to Madeline. Um, I think that it might have been an accident of some sort that they covered up and it got really big and now they can't go backwards, obviously. But the same thing here, like, I mean, we've got a child that goes missing in the middle of the night and is never seen again. And the evidence is very small. There's not a whole lot, to go on. So I think declaring her dead at this point, I don't understand the concept of that. Like, I haven't seen that before. Like, not
Yeah.
in these cases with the kids where they never find them.
It makes me weird about the jury. Usually juries don't convict with the no body,
Well,
and
they do if there's enough
yeah.
evidence, but
Right, there's no evidence.
this doesn't seem like there is. Like okay, so in the Gannon Stout case, if Gannon had never been found, they could have still made a case for Leticia killing him. There was blood all over his room. There was a weapon that they found with blood on it. He does not come home. They've not seen, there's no other explanation. There's lots of different things that lend her to murdering that child. They
Mm-hmm.
actually think that they were led to where he was originally, they believe, originally placed, and then now he was moved somewhere else, and they have decomposition of body fluids, things like that. There's
Yeah,
ways to
tons of evidence.
tons of evidence that would have, regardless of no body, still convicted Leticia of murder. Okay. But in this case, I don't see that. Like, I don't see that. The child could have just as easily been sold into, sexual slavery.
Yes.
We know that exists. I mean, terribly exists all over.
Well, just like in Casey Anthony, that they charged her with first degree murder. Big mistake, because there was no evidence to charge her with first degree
No,
murder. She was
no.
killed, but there was not any. No, there wasn't
Yeah.
enough to say first first degree death penalty murder. And
Yeah.
that's the mistake of ever. And so it's just the opposite of that, charging too high of a crime with no evidence.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we said or if we know what degree murder he was charged with for her. It's
I don't
gotta be
know.
like second, third degree murder, if not manslaughter, because I could not imagine they would charge him with first degree murder with this little of evidence,
Yeah.
or if the
I don't know.
jury in that
And
town
I'm not saying that he doesn't, like, he's not, like, guilty. I think
right.
definitely he had something to do with it, but I just don't see evidence that the child is dead. Mm, it just doesn't seem there's enough to say she's 100% dead and not just still missing, that she wasn't given to somebody for like, if there's drugs involved and it was a huge drug amount, like, we don't know how deeply involved the family was in drug cases, and the mother herself even said that she believes it had something to do with drugs. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. It just
I don't
seems.
know.
I mean, I just watched a whole movie about something like that. That they did was called Caged No More, and it was basically a father that sold his children into sexual slavery because he was down on his luck and couldn't pay his bills, and this was a
Cage no
Caged No More. It's a fictionalized telling, but it's a very good story. I mean, it's let's say, let me put it this way, though. It is about the level of a Lifetime movie as far as quality goes, but as
more.
far as story goes, it was a very good movie, and it brought to light, exactly like what happens in these situations, and that parents can do this, and they can be guilty of this, and that it does happen, and these children, do get sold into sexual slavery all the time. So
Yeah.
I would say that would be my bet, would be something like that with this. However, I mean, I'm not ruling out the fact that she's buried somewhere and they just haven't found her, but you know, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
to say that she's 100% dead, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, we are back and we are excited to be back. We're all much healthier now. We've got some guests that are going to be showing up here both Murder by Design and on the Good Wives Guide to True Crime. We've already started putting out some of the interviews that we've done over the pandemic. On our podcast, like we said, we did the Tiger King Don Lewis and interviewed Stephen David Lampley, Cheryl McCollum. We are posting Joseph Scott Morgan's interview. He talks about Durst and Epstein and so many great cases. He's the #1 leading death expert in the country. Amazing. And we get to have him on our show here on Murder by Design. Coming up, we're going to do a series on Epstein, and he is going to come and join us. So I'm super excited about that. So we've got a lot of great things coming up, guys. We're also going to start doing shorter clips with just, some commentary on bigger cases and things like that, and having experts on. So be on the lookout for those things. But
Hey guys, so a couple nights ago, we launched a special campaign along with Cheryl McCollum from the Cold Case Research Institute called Love Wins. And what this is it is our answer to all the chaos that's kind of going on right now. The chaos from the riots, the chaos from all the different, pandemic, everything that's happening in our lives right now. All the issues with the different lost lives that we've had from before the protesting, after the protesting. So all the lost lives that have come out of this, the lost lives of COVID even. And so #LoveWins is a movement to usher in peace, and knowing that above all, the only way that we're going to get through all of this is loving each other. So what we're actually doing here is we are creating a scholarship fund in remembrance of all the lost lives in 2020 so far, and ushering in peace. And this scholarship fund will go to anyone that wants to go ahead and enter to win. The criteria is really cool. All you have to do is make a 30-second video of yourself and explaining to us how you lead with love. And we are looking for college age students that are, struggling. Maybe they can't get scholarships. Maybe there's a reason, that they aren't available for them, or it's just not enough for them. And so this is our way of helping out. We're hoping to raise about $5,000. If we raise more than that, then we'll look into giving more than one scholarship away. The way that we're doing this is we have some merchandise. It's #LoveWins merchandise. And there's also Lead with Love merchandise. They've got shirts, cups, mugs, stickers, anything you could possibly want. And we're going to have it on a couple different platforms. Currently, we're doing some on TeePublic, but I'm working on some on Cafe Press too, because they have a lot more variety of merchandise. And so we'll be donating a portion of the proceeds that we collect on this merchandise to the scholarship fund that we are creating. And then we also have a GoFundMe that will be listed in the show notes of our YouTube show and our podcast. And you guys can click on it and you can donate any amount you'd like. And all of the proceeds from that are going to go ahead and go to the scholarship fund. And we'll be showing you exactly how the money is distributed, how it's collected. We're going to be very transparent with this. We're working with some amazing professionals that from like Cheryl from the Cold Case Institute, Stephen David Lampley from the Oliphant Institute, the leading death investigator, Joseph Scott Morgan. So we're working with all of them to really show how much love wins over everything and bringing peace to a country that we really need it right now. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to go ahead and play our entries at the top of every podcast and every YouTube until we choose a winner. And our special guests that we have each week, the different people that come on and are here with us, Cheryl and Stephen and Joseph, they'll all be a part of choosing that lucky winner or winners, depending on how much we end up getting donated. So I hope that you guys join us in #LoveWins. And we hope that we get some really great entrants because we really want to see how you lead with love.
Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives and Murder by Design. Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get exclusive mini episodes, inside documents and pictures from the case, live YouTube discussions, our exclusive discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merchandise.
And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check out our podcast, The Good Wives Guide to True Crime, on any of your favorite podcast players.
Have a good one from The Good Wives, serving up true crime one dish at a time.